Hello, everyone. Mike Arnold here, co-founder, Path Trading Partners, along with Bob Iacchino. How is everyone doing? Hello, Dan Jet. Hello, Wavy. NQ new weird NASDAQ near yearly lows by a few points. Yep. Those targets you had in the 12K range are coming to life sooner than many think. We shall see. I'm still looking for that buy signal. Will commodities keep dropping? I still think there's more of a pullback potentially coming. We've outlined where I look for the key points in gold, silver, uranium pulling back, which is good because I'm working around the core position in that. Oil pulling back, which I talked about this morning, I talked about yesterday, but this is just part of what the technicals were saying, and now we start watching for a potential bottoming pattern at key levels. There is no bottoming pattern yet. Another wow day in the market. Today wasn't really bad. Hey, all. Happy days we get extra sunlight. Yeah, we had to get up an hour earlier. No, I do like I just want to stick on one times. Please stick on one time. Let's just pick this one. Pick this one. Let's do it all year long. I don't like changing times. Hey, Tesla Force. By the way, consumer inflation expectations coming in actually worse than previous, so up to 6%. And tomorrow, keep in mind, very busy morning, 7:30 Central Time. Producer price index. Forecast zero point 0.9, prior was 1. Core PPI coming in, well, not coming in, forecasted 0.6, previous 0.8. So they're expecting a slight drop in that. We will see how that plays out year over year. Still 8.7, so year over year higher versus previous. So that's going to be really moving stuff. I'll glance at the Empire State Manufacturing Index, but this is what's going to move stuff right in there tomorrow. So do not ignore that. Here's your FOMC. Now you got the 75 basis point or 50 basis point back in play. 50 to 75. It's based off this lower number, but it's pretty much the 25%. If you look at the overall, lots of red today. The bank moves were deceptive, and we can look at that probably in the stock segment if you join me for that. The city didn't budge at all. That's the one I'm most bearish on. But even these, they popped up, little rally in the morning, and then big roll over. Lots of red in tech and the growth stuff. So still no bottom there. That's why we wait for the confirmation bounce. Some consumer staples, again, bouncing up a bit. By the way, if you are new here, please do consider subscribing, ringing that bell, and hitting the like button. Longer term viewers, keep up with the comments and hitting those like buttons. All right. So, by the way, potential, it might be off the plate. We actually rallied a bit too much, but if we get a close above today's daily high, it is a potential bouncing buy signal. The only thing is it's against the rotation zone on the daily time frame, so it is slightly lower probability. But here's the interesting thing. So the S&P pull back 0.5%. NASDAQ, which is the weakest of all, but I'm actually surprised we have not pulled back even more so overall with the news that came out today. NASDAQ is more behaving like we did at the end of the tech bubble, but also we will get that bounce at some point. Dow actually up 18 basis points. Russell took it in the shorts today, even down bigger than NASDAQ. So small cap and mainly stuff driven by high growth and high risk and technology got a little beat up. The DAX finished up, but remember that closed earlier, well before the news came out. Crude coming back, 6% drop. Gold, 1.5% drop. Silver really took it in the shorts, but I like that because it gets added a better price. 10-year notes down, and we'll glance at that. So lots of stuff to take a look at. By the way, VIX, not even with these drops, see, there's not. That's a little bump up, but nothing significant. Nothing significant in my book. Again, we couldn't even get above this high from Thursday. So then that's what I was watching to see if it could get above 34, and no such luck. So there was no real fear driving this. It's just a controlled sell off again. Remember, you are still in negative gamma mode. So that's where the sell offs get amplified, and you can have buys get amplified. Like this kind of day, that was still negative gamma mode. These days were negative gamma mode. So both ups and downs get amplified. That's why if we start getting momentum to the upside, we can have one of these days like we did back on the 9th of March. Still holding this longer term trend line in the S&P, holding this key harmonic cluster area and significant level at 41.55, trying to get down there. Let's look at the shorter term charts on the S&P. So this level held, then we dropped through it. I'll show you what, then when we dropped through this one on the shorter term basis, you see just sliced through there. That became resistance again. But I'll show you how I updated the levels just so everybody knows. We went from reverse harmonics. And earlier, once it poked through this, I went to the forward harmonics with this, with that little poke through. And again, it's a zone area. I was watching 41.56. You could have gone to here too, which I did later in the day. But my first thing was going tap forward, and we didn't get quite down there. But this is a whole zone. This is the key area. Now with this pause, we're going to use this for tomorrow in case we do. It's not a long-term pause yet, but it will give us an example if we continue lower. Let's see. So we break this trend line. We still have this key. We're back above the significant level of about 41.55 to 41.56. That's going to be my first short-term support. 41.30, because remember, this is still a clear path over here with a target of 41.24. And then major support coming in. Prior major lows back from the 24th of February, harmonic 4103 to 4108. So major support area if it does continue to drop. If you get below there, it gets sort of interesting. Hello, Amit. Yes, everything is good. I'm going to cover Tesla in the stock section if you don't mind today. There's lots to get through in this one. On a rally, now this prior support level that held earlier is 41.94 or 41.95 is now resistance. Okay, into the 1 hour rotation zone. Really what I'm going to be focusing on tonight, the Asian and European session, is the dropping 4 hour rotation zone in this level. If it gets above there, then we could be back to 42.24 pretty quickly. And then key on the daily, you see, is roughly today's high with the rotation zone. So if you got through 42.24, I'd be watching the daily rotation zone and moving up. The next and the aggressive buy signal is roughly about that 42.40 on a closing basis now on a 4 hour time frame. So that's where we sit, and this is actually running out of downside momentum. When you can't get price breaking lower, even on very bearish news, today the afternoon news was not very positive, but it has not been able to substantially break lower yet. So that's burning off downside momentum. And I'm saying no, it can't break lower. It certainly can, but it's getting harder and harder to push this down. So if we get any substantial buying pressure, that's where I think we could see one of these massive up days that could turn into 2 or 3 up days in a row and take us easily back to the daily rotation zone. And I would not be surprised to see us get back to this longer term trend line once that buying pressure comes in. That's why any short positions now, tight stops, okay, because this could turn on a dime. Now, if you have some decent short positions and it continues lower, you trail your stops down. But we could get a turnaround move. There's still too many people now tipping to overly bearish, end of the world, and even with this bearish news today, not a major sell-off, only off 0.5%. Is that a falling wedge? No. Nope. Not the way I do them. Does the negative gamma still a concern? Well, that negative gamma, remember, is in place. until around 4. Where's the gamma flip? It's right around 40. It's just under 4,400 now. So zero gamma is 43.83 roughly projected. So you have negative gamma even on a rally. Now, negative gamma means is it reinforces whatever move's taking place. So if you have an upward move, it reinforces. It doesn't make downward pressure. Don't mix up negative gamma with down. What it does is amplify the move in either direction, okay? So an upward move gets amplified and a downward move gets amplified. A positive gamma, once you get the positive gamma flip, that's why you could see theoretically if this, now remember we have options expiration on Friday. So that's when you get a whole new set of gamma flip areas because you have all this current options, a bunch of them expiring now. So we'll get a new gamma range starting after expiration on Friday, a new major gamma range. However, this is what I'm talking about. Yes, if we continue to sell off, we break key levels, that negative gamma will exacerbate it to the downside. If we get some buying pressure coming in, this is where you can get these multi-day rallies. This was negative gamma also. This was negative gamma. This was a one negative gamma day. But you could get a move up, and remember, it was 43, 83? Isn't that where the trend line is? So could we see into Friday, if we start getting buying pressure, a fast move up that will shock a lot of people? You sure bet we can. That's why I'm putting this out there, to be prepared. Do we just try to front run it? No. Okay, we wait if there's a great bottoming pattern, like if I'm watching above here, if it does get a move on once it reopens, we could see a little pop to 41.93, but that's just a short-term play. There's no longer-term play until we're really back above at least the 42.22 level. Okay, we could set up another buying thing tonight, though, with the overnight price action. So please consider what negative gamma is. And why I'm pointing it out there is don't be shocked if we do get a sharp upside move at some point. Do I know what the catalyst would be? No. But somebody will just say, oh, see, well, this thing came across, that's why we're rallying. I don't really care what came across. All I'm set up for is the possibility that we can get a strong rally. If really negative news comes out, if something comes out like still related to Russia, Ukraine, could we get, again, you have the VIX spike of to 40. Could we come down here and hit 4,000 in a heartbeat? You betcha, because we're negative gamma. But we're keep getting negative news and we keep bouncing into support, and the selling pressure is orderly. Now, NASDAQ, again, not below the, it might have just eked out what was the low here. 1550 low here. 13, slightly lower low right here. So new lows on the year, like Wavy pointed out. But even with this negative news, it's not destroying. Now, we have all the unraveling of the tech. And remember, the NASDAQ rallied on the way up with high PE stuff, and that's going to keep unwinding even on rallies because you have what's going on with the notes. Higher interest rates environments hurt high PE stocks, especially high PE stocks that don't have strong revenues or negative earnings per share. They will get beat up the most. So even on rallies, you can have the NASDAQ do this rip your face off rally, but you see how it's just orderly unwinding. So if I'm going to play something to the upside, I need to have an outperformance tech stock, or which we can get something with that. And I'll get to questions in a second. But I'm going to be watching. If I just want to play an index, I'm probably going to play the S&P over the NASDAQ. NASDAQ, let's see. And by the way, you don't have to apologize. I was just letting you know that I will cover Tesla in the stock section, so we can go through that. Please come back if you can and put this question in there. Let's see. Slow selling going on for 6 weeks. When's it going to end? I think we'll get a bounce and then it will resume. Again, I think we're in a long-term market drawdown. Long-term. but we will get rip your face off rallies where everybody will say the bottom's in, we're going to highs, we're going to new all-time highs, we're going to all new time highs, whatever it is, and we'll see. Again, any stocks, put in the stock ones. So negative gamma is reduction in delta, one way to increase in the other direction. What it does is because it amplifies the hedging, all right? And so much is based off hedging because it's got to get back. So it amplifies the deltas in the other way. So you have to offset that by hedging. So on a rally, it's going to amplify your downside delta. So you have to buy more into the rally. And on a decrease, you have to sell more into the decrease to get back to delta neutral on it. That's why it amplifies it, because the rally has to be bought into, the sell-off has to be sold into. Whereas when you have positive gamma, the rally gets sold into, the sell-off gets bought into to get back to delta neutral. So that's why positive gamma has a dampening effect. Negative gamma has a increased effect. Tell me what word I'm looking for. I keep blanking out. Like when it's positive feedback loop, it amplifies. Negative gamma is an amplifying effect to the whatever move the direction it is. So it's amplifying to the upside and amplifying to the downside. So your probabilities are shifted to the upside in the short term? Yes. Just in the short term, not in the long term. But I need to wait for a signal. And that's longer than a 15-minute signal, okay? So what could those signals be? We could put in some kind of divergent signal, which even if you look here, you look at the NASDAQ, so now we have a lower low push just by, 10 points? But look at this. We have a higher RSI, so it's losing momentum. You're losing momentum on this downside pushes, even with incredibly bearish news. Does that mean you just buy it? No. That's why people who try to call bottoms get hurt. I'm saying I'm watching for a bottom, and I said it could unfold in the next 2 or 3 days. I said that yesterday. What's that? I'm watching Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It obviously didn't hold through today because we put in a new low in the NASDAQ. The S&P still is a higher low holding this trend line. And the Dow was actually up from Friday's close. Let's take a look at that shorter term in the NASDAQ. So, again, dropping this down, really nice pausing area right here. And that just gave me this cluster right here, and we're holding right there. So what am I watching for now? Short-term area, I'm watching 13,100. Longer term then, I'm keeping an eye. Let's fine-tune these levels. We got to go with this right about 13,190, 13,188, 13,190. That's my next level. And then above there, see, remember we have this clear path move. Now your actual breakdown zone is here. Let me put this on the chart. You have a significant level more around that 13,190, but you have a breakdown zone at 13,200. So anywhere in here, I will be watching for a pause. If you get through this, this really turns into major support again. And if you get through this, the breakdown zone, you could see a pretty rapid run to around 13,367, 13,370. So keep that in mind, and that's in the middle of the 4-hour rotation zone. To the downside, I hope I didn't move those top bars. Oh, yep. There we go. To the downside. Now, I'm just going to go off this last little 1-hour pausing bar to give us an idea. It would be better if that turns into a 4-hour pausing bar. But I'm looking 12,910 to 12,940. And then major area of support would be 12,746 to 12,805. Super large cluster down here. Okay? So if this did sell off before we get the bounce move, then that's my key support level. And maybe that's what you were referencing before, Wavy, when you said had the targets in the 12K range. And now they're just reinforced. So even if we sold off tomorrow again, then got the bounce on Wednesday, if we got through 12,746, could it happen? Yeah, I would be really shocked. But hey, I've been shocked by the market before. That's the part why the markets are fun. And that's always why you manage risk first. Let's see where we sit. The selling is very controlled. As you said, a lot of big money is hedged to the downside, so a large fast sell is hard to come by. Yep. And it's very controlled selling. There is no panic selling. Okay, and it's actually controlled, holding some pretty significant support in the S&P and Dow. The Dow breaking, I was starting to get a little worried with the Dow. We dipped below. See this key area right here? Dip below it and snap back above it. I'm going to bump it down a bit. So 32,827 to about 32,760 is key support zone. But that was actually a positive in the Dow that it got back above. Instead of letting this turn into resistance, it clearly got back above and it's held above so far. Dow, you have a clear path move to the upside, and your only real stopping point is about 33,000. Above 33,000, you're going to be targeting about 33,280. Now, if it rolls back over from the support area again, my next support is 32,530. And then the trend line area to the downside. By the way, this double is still in play. This move did not come anywhere close to stopping it out. So the Dow double is still in play. All right. So keep that in mind. Again, 33,000 above 33,000, 33,281. Then I'm putting the double targets in place, more so than those harmonics. Again, Russell broke down below this 1975, 1974 level. Didn't get quite down to 1927 level, but that is, you can bump this up a hair now. So 1930 is about key support. We break below that. 1905 to 1900. And then below that, 1883. So talked about with the DAX, here's something else I'm watching for. If the DAX does drop, when it reopens, and these aren't the futures, this is just the FDAX. I'll have to take a look at that. But we have a very short-term triggered 1 hour double. So I'm just watching for a slight retracement. What'll be interesting, though, is if that reverses without hitting the first target, I'll be really watching for higher price action in the DAX. Crude, I warned about this a lot with, this should have not been a shock, which we had the double top pattern. Pausing last week, pausing earlier, and then coming through and completing all the targets. And the only little minor bullish thing was we had a little reversal pattern in here. And that was just a super short term overall. So where does this sit now? And it closed below the daily rotation zone, which does favor a slightly bigger pullback. Where am I watching? If this keeps unwinding, I'm watching here. The top of the weekly rotation zone is 98.35. Really, I'm focused at this 50 to 62.5 to the bottom. We still have an area in here that I am watching for a longer term. So we could be somewhere in the 90s to 95s. And I'll start watching for a lower probability. If I had to fine tune it right now, I'd be watching closer to 95. Where would this become getting to a more bullish case? A minor bullish case would start around 109.50, but really significant bullish case starts getting around to 111. There is no bottoming pattern yet. You are running out of a little momentum, but that could easily return to this key resistance area, your first key resistance area. now is right around 105.75. Then above that, it's 107.50. So even on a bullish move back up here, I'm watching for a rotation down. Now, what could we do? We could still theoretically bounce, rotate back down, form a double pattern, and that could be a resumed bullish case. But there's nothing right now. We just have some started waning momentum, but no real great buy signal yet. And commodities did get crushed. I mean, oil pulled back 6.71%, which I think's overdone. If you take a look, because overdone on a daily basis, not on the bigger pullback. Wheat even, and Russia's talking, halting wheat exports through August at least, which I think will turn into the rest of the time. Wheat, little move up, but pulling back on the day. All the grains pulling back. You have gold. Again, we triggered that head and shoulders. Pulling back. Gold off 1.5%. I'm now keeping an eye just in front of that first head and shoulders pattern about 1940 to about 1930 is where I'll really start watching forward to see if we do get a bottom pattern. If we get through there, 1904. Again, this is just a pullback to look for new buying opportunities in there. That's how I'm treating it. There's no way I'm shorting gold in this market environment. But this is also why I like to trade around the core position in metals. Silver, sort of interesting. We have a little potential double even with this hitch. I will keep an eye out for. Remember, silver finally triggered that head and shoulders, but this little double does not invalidate it. What would it do? It would pretty much return us to the neckline before another rollover move. So that's something I'm keeping an eye on. Now, if this support today, 25.17 breaks, 24.77, wonderful gift from the metal gods to get a pullback here. And major area I'm watching is this 24.29. Notes, again, look at this. Next harmonic, 124.23. We got to 124.24. This, you can see here also, you see how we got that pause right in front of that harmonic, then it paused here again on the 1 hour basis. See this little bounce off of it, then a rollover, and then a steady decline just in front of the next target. So with that, I mean, that's a brutal move in bonds again. At this point, we already know we're roughly there. I have to change these targets out with this little spike move. We just kept it on there for now. 124.06 would be the next target, but this prior support zone is now resistance. And look at this, below that, we're looking at 123.20. What does that look like in a yield perspective? There's your yield, almost back to that next harmonic level, 2.154, and then we're looking at 2.245%. Also, this key resistance that we pulled back from is now support. And the 5-year is, where's my 5-year? That moved up really nicely today. Right to the next harmonic area. Look at that, just boom, straight there. So now if I had to do a projection, I'm going to have to re-anchor this once we get a better pausing bar. But look, with the 5-year, you can hit I'm going to watch for 2.246% up there. Main watch list again. Dollar index. Again, just a pause. Double still in potential play. So, by the way, that's commodities we were asked about earlier. Here's your commodity index. I put this out in this weekend. Again, I'm watching for this continued pullback. My major support, you asked, or I forgot who asked this. Just take a look. William. Yeah, we had this little vertical up, vertical down move, trying to get out of this major overbought condition, but you could easily come back into the weekly rotation zone and form a basing pattern. So you see how we were already in a substantial run up. Then we had the spike up, getting overdone, but this just has to work off this major overbought condition before it's another potential strong move up. Has anything solved itself on the commodity front? No. Uh, yeah, Goldman Sachs cut the price target. I saw that earlier, 51 to 4,700. And if you look here, just off the futures, where's 4,700? It's not, and that's the yearly target. That is the yearly price target. That's their target for the year. So that does not even take it to new highs. And I think they're still way behind. It's going to get ratcheted down again, I bet. But in a couple more months, they'll probably take it to 4,500 or 4,400. But we could hit 4,400 even on a move up there. I'm no buyer here. I will wait for ES 4224. Yeah, that's no, you would not be a buyer here. What I'm saying is that's why we need to look, it has to prove itself. Just because it's now technically a triple bottom. So could we see another minor push lower? Yeah, you could. But remember that only slightly favors. That's not a roll. Do not trade triple tops, triple bottoms unless you're doing a breakout or breakdown play and that wait for it to trigger. Okay, but yeah, if this moves back up, I would be watching, this 42.24 back above there. Don't be a fool and try to call the bottom. That's then back up. Close above there is above the 4-hour rotation zone, and then you can make a pretty decent run up. But this is day to day. Not only, if you stripped out the Russia-Ukraine situation, these markets would still be brutal to trade. You put it in with Russia-Ukraine, it even makes it harder. So, what other questions? Anything? What time is it? 4:05. I'm not seeing anything right now. I'm just thinking if I have to go through anything else. No, again, I am bullish on another commodity play that's pulling back, and this move's really overdone because Russia's going to ban more uranium exports, but I am very bullish. This is another one to trade around a core position on a uranium drop. So if you want to do your own research, watch. Did break out coming back into the range, but this is something that could also take off. Uranium is way undervalued in my perspective. We're up from the lows, but this is still, you could see uranium easily over $150 again, longer term. Because there's going to have to be more alternative energy sources brought online longer term again. So, was this move overdone in my books? Yeah, but we got to trade what it is. My next little level of support is about 73.32 in the global uranium mining ETF in URA, which is trading around a core position. My key area to look to trade on another pullback is about 22.63 to about 22.37. And when I talk about trading around core positions, you see my lines here. This is where, in context of a larger term move and educational purpose only, buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, buy, sell, partial buy, sell. This will be a buy. Guess what happens here? Sell. Guess what happens here? Sell. Guess what happens back in here? Buy. Guess what happens down here? Buy. Guess what happens here? Sell. Why would I do that? Because bullish longer term, but you can trade between key levels, and that's where harmonics are really good, because you essentially build a position and you use these moves to buy and sell. When do I stop buying and selling? You start getting up into this high range. I start playing for the breakouts and then holding a core position and adding to it on pullbacks. You want to know this is a very strong professional way to trade. Again, educational purposes only, but it's a great way to use harmonics, because you can literally, and do the same with like gold and silver. Okay? A fantastic way. Again, you have your key levels here, I talked about this. You want to trade it with stock stuff. You start looking. This is where you're looking to trade between key harmonics. Buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell. Sell a little more. What do you think's back here in this area? Buy. Even if we drop back down in this area, what is it? Buy. You all here, sell. Now you start making a run for these highs again, you get a little greedier with holding, because if it breaks above this 1650 area, that where my next sell point would be 1750, but this is then you start adding on rotations and you come up with your new buy sell range. So if something's, look at all these levels you could trade between longer term, and where most people are just sitting on something, you can harvest price action back and forth until it gets close to that breakout zone, and then you start harvesting the price. What do I do this kind of stuff on? I do it on stuff I'm bullish on longer term, bullish on precious metals. Why? Because I can establish a core position and lean against key fundamentals. So that's an advanced concept. You can do it in silver too. Again, that's what some of these yellow lines are used for identifying buying and selling. Now, when you get these short-term patterns, that gives me areas, pullback. This is a buy zone. All right. Why? Because you're against major key level. Running up, remember I talked about it. You start unloading things at key harmonics. You wait for that pullback and add. And then there'd be another add back down around 24. It pops, you take some off. Pulls back, you add. Pops, it takes something off. So you can do something in all this price action and literally lower your cost basis way below where you initially bought in. And you have a great long-term position that you're just using, harvesting price back and forth to lower your cost basis. You're welcome, Wavy. You're welcome, Tesla Force. You're welcome, Josh. Warren Buffett invested another $1 billion on Oxy. Total investment $6 billion now. Well, if I could type, Occidental Petroleum. And yeah, he's in long term. I think long term, there's going to be a lot of good plays. Again, could this pull back more? Yeah. But this is another thing. You can trade a lot of these oils things still around the core position. You just now get very picky on your pullback levels. So, thank you for that information, Rich. Again, thank you everyone for being here. Let me know if you want to understand that more, trading around the core position more with certain things, because it can really be beneficial in certain markets. In certain markets, let me know with some feedback. Love the philosophy around your trading around the core position. Incredibly insightful, and thank you. Well, thank you, Michael. This is, again, and in commodity plays, you don't want to chase overextended price action. And when they break out, you want to go with the breakout. However, you can harvest price, and you do it with a very structured approach. One of the ways I love to do it is with the harmonics. And you just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, because so many of these commodity plays or things related to commodities trade in a range, and they can trade in a range for a very long time until they eventually break out. And then you go with the breakout play, and then you can use the concept of, rotation zones, and you don't unwind your position as quickly, and you buy pullbacks into rotation zones and do things like that. So, all right, well, that was a little feedback. I hope everyone has a great night. By the way, for stocks, I'll be back in about 15 minutes. So we can look at stocks, including Amit. Can you join me for the Tesla, and we could get to your Tesla question? And so bring up any other stocks. We'll look to glance at what's coming out earnings post-market, what's coming out of earnings tomorrow. And with that, we will have a market preview tomorrow morning. 8 Central starts the countdown timer. And we will take a look at what happened in the European session and also the producer price index numbers. Until then, please subscribe. If you are new here, ring that bell and hit the like button. Longer term viewers, consider hitting that like button and leaving some comments below. Bye for now.